The stars outside the observation deck looked different now that Earth knew it was not alone. Ambassador Lisa Grant stood with her hands clasped behind her back, watching the alien ship approach their diplomatic vessel. The massive crystalline structure moved through space without any visible engines, its surface shimmering with colors that hurt to look at directly. "They're beautiful," whispered Dr. Amy Thompson, the lead scientist on the human delegation. She adjusted her glasses and made notes on her tablet. "The energy readings are off the charts." General Kevin Martinez remained silent, his weathered face showing no emotion. He had fought in 3 wars and survived more battles than he cared to count. Something about these aliens made his instincts scream danger, though he could not explain why. "Remember the protocol," Lisa said to her team. "We listen first, ask questions second, and make no commitments today." The docking bay of the Terra Nova filled with a soft blue light as the alien shuttle landed. The airlock hissed open, and the Zalathi delegation stepped through. They were tall, at least 8 feet in height, with skin that looked like living crystal. Their faces were elegant and sharp, with large eyes that seemed to hold ancient wisdom. When they moved, they made no sound at all. The leader stepped forward and spoke in perfect English, though his mouth barely moved. "Greetings, children of Earth. I am High Counselor Vexathara of the Zalathi Empire. We have traveled far to meet you." Lisa stepped forward and extended her hand. "Welcome aboard the Terra Nova. I am Ambassador Lisa Grant representing the people of Earth." Vexathara looked at her outstretched hand with what might have been amusement, then touched it briefly with one long finger. His skin felt like smooth stone. "Your customs are quaint. Shall we proceed to more important matters?" The meeting room had been prepared with chairs for both species, though the Zalathi preferred to stand. Vexathara began speaking immediately, his voice carrying a musical quality that made everyone feel strangely calm. "We have watched your species for some time," he said. "You have reached the point where contact becomes necessary. Your technology advances rapidly, but without guidance you face certain destruction." Dr. Thompson leaned forward. "Destruction from what?" "The galaxy is a dangerous place, young one. There are species that would devour your worlds, cosmic storms that could sterilize your planets, and forces beyond your current understanding. Your kind is like a child playing with fire while standing in a room full of explosives." General Martinez spoke for the first time. "We've handled ourselves pretty well so far." Vexathara turned those ancient eyes toward the general. "Have you? Your species wages war constantly. You poison your own planet. You create weapons capable of destroying yourselves many times over. Without guidance, you will not survive another 1,000 years." "So what do you suggest?" Lisa asked, though she suspected she already knew the answer. "Protection," Vexathara said simply. "We offer you membership in the Protected Worlds Alliance. Complete safety from all galactic threats. No more war, no more suffering, no more fear." Another Zalathi stepped forward, carrying what looked like a crystal tablet. Images appeared in the air above it, showing beautiful worlds with gleaming cities and peaceful populations. "These are some of our protected worlds," Vexathara explained. "The Altarians were much like you once, violent, chaotic, self-destructive. Now they live in perfect harmony. The Benarians were facing extinction from a plague. We saved them, and now disease is unknown on their world." The images were impressive. Clean cities, healthy populations, advanced technology. Everyone looked content and well-fed. But something bothered Lisa about the scenes. The people in the images moved slowly without urgency or excitement. Their faces showed contentment but no joy. "What would this protection cost us?" she asked. "Very little," Vexathara replied. "We would establish defensive stations around your solar system. Our advisors would help your leaders make better decisions. We would share our technology to eliminate poverty, disease, and conflict. In return, you would simply agree to follow our guidance in matters of galactic importance." Captain Jake Sullivan had been quiet throughout the meeting, but now he cleared his throat. He was an old Navy man with scars on his hands and a suspicious nature. "What kind of threats are we talking about exactly?" For the first time, Vexathara hesitated. The other Zalathi shifted slightly, and Dr. Thompson noticed their energy readings spike on her instruments. "There are savage species in the outer reaches," Vexithera said finally. "Beings that know only violence and destruction. The Kreth swarms consume everything in their path. The Void Hunters enslave entire populations. There are cosmic phenomena that could end your civilization in moments. Have any of these protected worlds ever fought these threats themselves?" Captain Sullivan asked. "There is no need," Vexthera replied quickly. "Our fleets handle all external threats. Protected worlds focus on peaceful development and cultural advancement." "So they never get to defend themselves," Sullivan said. It was not a question. "They never need to," Vexithera corrected. "Violence is not the answer to every problem, Captain. Your species will learn this in time." Dr. Thompson studied her readings more carefully. The Zalathi energy signatures were definitely showing stress patterns whenever questions about threats came up. She made a note to analyze this data later. "How many species are in this alliance?" Lisa asked. 47 worlds currently enjoy our protection," Vexithara replied with pride. "Each one rescued from the chaos of unguided development. Each one now living in peace and prosperity." "And how many species have refused your offer?" General Martinez asked bluntly. The temperature in the room seemed to drop. Vexithara's expression hardened almost imperceptibly. "Some species are too chaotic to accept wisdom. They choose conflict over peace, struggle over security. These species rarely survive long in the galaxy's hostile environment." "What happens to them?" Lisa pressed. "They face the consequences of their choices," Vexthara said coldly. "The galaxy is not kind to those who reject harmony." The meeting continued for another hour, with the Zalathi explaining more details of their offer: free energy technology, medical advances that could extend human life indefinitely, transportation systems that would make space travel as easy as driving to the store. All they wanted in return was Earth's agreement to join their peaceful alliance. When the Zalathi finally departed, promising to return in 1 week for humanity's answer, the human delegation sat in stunned silence. "Well," Captain Sullivan said, "finally. That was interesting. They're offering us everything we've ever dreamed of," Dr. Thompson said, but her voice carried doubt. "Are they?" General Martinez asked. "Or are they offering to make us pets?" Lisa stared out at the stars, watching the Zalathi ship disappear into the distance. Something about the entire offer felt wrong, like a trap disguised as a gift. The protected worlds had looked peaceful, but they had also looked empty somehow. Safe, but not alive. "We need more information," she said finally. "And we need it, fast. Captain Sullivan, I want you to contact Admiral Jensen. Tell her to start monitoring all Zalathi communications in this system. Dr. Thompson, analyze everything we recorded today. Look for anything they might not want us to know." "What are you thinking?" Martinez asked. Lisa turned away from the window. "I'm thinking that when someone offers you everything you want and asks for almost nothing in return, you should probably ask what they're not telling you." The Terra Nova began its journey back to Earth, carrying news that would change humanity forever. In 1 week, they would have to give the Zalathi an answer. But first, they needed to understand exactly what they were being asked to give up. The war room beneath the Pentagon had never been so busy. Banks of computers hummed while analysts worked around the clock, processing data from across the solar system. Commander Beth Adams stood before a wall of screens, watching intercepted signals from distant star systems. She had been awake for 36 hours straight, surviving on coffee and determination. "Anything new?" Dr. Ryan Clark asked as he entered the room carrying his own cup of coffee. The xenoanthropologist looked as tired as everyone else, but his eyes were bright with discovery. "Too much," Beth replied. "We've identified 12 Zalathi-protected worlds so far. The patterns are starting to make sense, and I don't like what I'm seeing." On the main screen, images from the protected worlds played in sequence. Cities that looked perfect from a distance, but something felt wrong about them. The people moved slowly, almost mechanically. There were no crowds, no rush of activity, no signs of the chaos that marked human civilization. "Look at this," Beth said, pointing to one image. This is Altair Prime. The Zalathi said they used to be violent like us. But watch how they behave now. The footage showed Altarians going about their daily lives. They worked efficiently, spoke politely to each other, and followed clear patterns of movement. Everything was orderly and calm, but there were no children playing in the streets, no people arguing or laughing loudly, no signs of the messy vitality that marked living societies. They looked drugged, Dr. Clark observed. That's what I thought too. But look at this. Beth switched to another screen showing brain scans. Our long-range sensors picked up neural activity patterns. They're not drugged, they're content. Perfectly, completely content. Dr. Clark studied the scans with growing alarm. These readings are wrong. Where's the stress response? Where's the curiosity spike? Where's the creative chaos that drives intelligence forward? Gone, Beth said simply. All of it. They're not suffering, but they're not really living either. President Helen Carter entered the room with her security detail. She looked older than her 55 years, the weight of humanity's decision pressing down on her shoulders. What have you found? Beth pulled up a galaxy map showing Zalathi space. Protected worlds glowed in blue while red dots marked other civilizations. The Zalathi control almost a quarter of the galaxy, but here's the interesting part. Look at the technological advancement rates. Charts appeared showing development curves over time. The protected world showed steady, slow progress that eventually flattened out completely. The unprotected world showed wild fluctuations, with periods of rapid advancement mixed with setbacks and conflicts. The protected world stopped growing, President Carter observed. Exactly, Dr. Clark said. And the Zalathi probably see that as success. No wars, no conflicts, no problems. But also, no breakthroughs, no discoveries, no evolution. What about the unprotected worlds? The president asked. Beth highlighted several red dots. That's where it gets interesting. The Zalathi told us these species were doomed, remember? Too chaotic, too violent to survive. But look at this data. New charts showed the unprotected civilizations. Many had indeed failed or destroyed themselves, but others had grown stronger through their struggles. Some had formed alliances, developed amazing technologies, or evolved in ways the Zalathi never expected. The Morvek Confederation has faster-than-light travel that's decades ahead of Zalathi technology, Beth explained. The Thegan Republic has weapon systems we can barely understand. These doomed species are doing just fine on their own. So, why does the galaxy fear them? President Carter asked. Because they refuse to kneel, came a voice from the doorway. Admiral Carol Jensen entered, still wearing her flight suit from a scouting mission. We've been watching Zalathi fleet movements for the past week. Every time an unprotected species gets too advanced, the Zalathi start talking about containment and galactic stability. She pulled up star charts showing ship movements. 3 months ago, the Helix Collective developed new shield technology. Within weeks, Zalathi fleets were conducting training exercises near their space. The collective backed down from their research and agreed to trade restrictions. Threats, President Carter said. Veiled ones, but yes. The Zalathi don't just offer protection from threats. They are the threat, disguised as saviors. Dr. Clark pulled up another set of data. I've been analyzing the social structures of protected worlds. Every single one follows the same pattern. No military forces, no weapons research, no competitive industries. Birth rates are controlled, education is standardized, and all major decisions go through Zalathi advisors. They're not protecting civilizations, Beth realized. They're collecting them, like pets in a zoo. Major Tom Brady burst into the room, his face flushed with excitement and fear. You need to see this. We just got back from the Outer System Patrol, and we found something. He activated a hologram showing the edge of the solar system. There's a ship out there. Not Zalathi, something else. We tried to make contact, and they ran. But not before we got this. The hologram showed a sleek vessel, clearly alien, but built for speed and fighting. It looked nothing like the elegant Zalathi ships. Did you identify the species? Admiral Jensen asked. They sent us this before they jumped away, Tom said, playing an audio file. A harsh mechanical voice spoke in broken English. Earth humans, beware the crystal speakers. They offer chains made of silk. We are Kreth. We are free. Join the Free Stars, Alliance, or become pets like the others. The room fell silent. These were the savage Kreth swarms the Zalathi had warned them about. But instead of attacking, they had sent a warning. Get me everything we have on these Kreth, President Carter ordered. Beth's fingers flew over her keyboard. Here, the Kreth Confederation. The Zalathi described them as mindless killers, but look at their actual records. The data painted a very different picture. The Kreth had been one of the first species to refuse Zalathi protection, over 2,000 years ago. Since then, they had fought off multiple pacification attempts while building a loose alliance of free species. They're not monsters, Dr. Clark said, reading through the reports. They're survivors, and they're trying to warn us. There's more, Major Brady said. On our way back, we detected Zalathi ships positioning themselves around the system. They're not just here for our answer. They're preparing for something. Admiral Jensen studied the tactical displays. Containment positions. If we say no, they're ready to enforce their will. President Carter stood silent for a long moment, processing everything they had learned. The choice was becoming clear, but it was not the choice the Zalathi thought they were offering. Dr. Thompson, she said, activating the communication system. What's your analysis of their technology? Amy Thompson's voice came through from the research station. It's impressive, but not magical. Their ships rely on predictable energy patterns. Their weapons are powerful, but not adaptive. They're used to fighting enemies who follow rules. And their defenses, designed to stop conventional attacks, but they show vulnerability to unpredictable tactics. They're so used to controlling everything that they can't handle true chaos. President Carter smiled for the first time in days. Commander Adams, I want you to contact the Kreth. Tell them we're interested in their Free Stars alliance. Admiral Jensen, start moving our fleets into defensive positions, but make it look like we're just responding to their presence. What about the Zalathi? Dr. Clark asked. We're going to give them an answer they'll never forget, the President said. But first, we need to prepare for what comes next. They've been playing this game for thousands of years, thinking they know all the rules. Time to show them what happens when humans start playing. Outside the war room windows, the lights of Washington stretched into the distance. In 6 days, the Zalathi would return for humanity's answer. But the real question was not whether Earth would accept their protection. The real question was whether the galaxy was ready for what humanity would choose instead. The investigation had revealed the truth. The Zalathi were not protectors, but predators, offering a cage disguised as paradise. And humanity, with all its chaotic, violent, magnificent imperfection, was about to remind the galaxy why freedom was worth fighting for. The United Nations Assembly had never hosted an alien delegation before. Representatives from every nation on Earth filled the chamber, while millions more watched on screens around the world. The air buzzed with nervous energy as High Counselor Vexithara and his Zalathi escorts took their places at the center of the Great Hall. Ambassador Lisa Grant stood at the podium, looking calm despite the weight of humanity's future resting on her words. Behind her sat President Carter, General Martinez, Dr. Thompson, and Captain Sullivan. Each of them knew what was coming, but the Zalathi expected a very different kind of answer. High Counselor Vexithara, Lisa began, her voice carrying clearly through the chamber. We have considered your generous offer of protection very carefully. Vexithara's crystalline features showed what might have been satisfaction. We are pleased to hear this, Ambassador Grant. The galaxy will welcome Earth into the family of protected worlds. Actually, Lisa said, and Captain Sullivan noticed the slight smile playing at the corners of her mouth. We have some questions. First, the alien leader's expression shifted almost imperceptibly. Questions? We have been quite thorough in our explanations. Dr. Thompson stood up from her seat, tablet in hand. We've been studying your protected worlds. Fascinating places. So peaceful. So orderly. Tell me, when was the last time any of them made a scientific breakthrough? They have no need for such things, Vexthara replied smoothly. We provide all necessary technology. But they used to discover things on their own, didn't they? Dr. Thompson pressed. Before your protection, I mean. The Altarians developed quantum computing. The Binarians created biological enhancement techniques. What happened to that creativity? Chaos was replaced by order, Vexthara said. Random discovery gave way to guided development. General Martinez stood next, his weathered face showing no emotion. And their military capabilities? There is no need for military forces under our protection. None at all. Not even for emergencies. We handle all threats, Vexthara said, and several Zalathi behind him shifted uncomfortably. Captain Sullivan rose from his chair, and when he spoke, there was barely contained laughter in his voice. So let me get this straight. You want to protect us from threats like the Kreth swarms? Among others, yes. Funny thing about that, Sullivan continued. We made contact with the Kreth last week. They seemed pretty reasonable for mindless killers. The temperature in the room seemed to drop 10 degrees. Vexthara's eyes focused sharply on the captain. The Kreth are dangerous. Contact with them was unwise. Was it? President Carter stood now, her voice carrying the authority of her office. Because they told us some interesting things about your protection. They said you don't protect civilizations from threats. You protect the galaxy from civilizations that refuse to kneel. Murmurs rippled through the assembly. The human delegates had known this moment would come, but seeing the Zalathi react was still startling. Vexthara's perfect composure cracked slightly, and the other aliens began speaking to each other in rapid musical tones. You have been listening to propaganda, Vexthara said finally. The Kreth spread lies to justify their chaotic existence. Lies? Lisa asked, returning to the podium. Like the lie that protected worlds never advance beyond a certain point? Or the lie that species who refuse protection mysteriously face increased threats until they submit? Your accusations are baseless, Vexthara replied, but his voice carried less certainty than before. Ambassador Grant smiled then, and it was not a diplomatic smile. High Counselor, we've made our decision about your offer. The chamber fell silent. Every human in the room knew what was coming, but the words still sent electricity through the air. We decline. The silence stretched for several heartbeats. Then Captain Sullivan started laughing. It began as a quiet chuckle, but grew into full-throated laughter that echoed through the great hall. General Martinez joined in, then Dr. Thompson, then President Carter herself. Soon the entire human delegation was laughing, and the sound spread through the assembly like wildfire. Representatives from every nation began laughing, the sound building into something that shook the walls of the building. Vexthara rose to his full height, his crystalline features hardening into something cold and terrible. You find this amusing? Hilarious, Captain Sullivan managed between laughs. You want to protect us from the chance to grow stronger? From facing challenges that make us better? From the right to fail and learn from our mistakes? You offer us peace, General Martinez added, wiping tears from his eyes. But what you really offer is a cage, a very comfortable, very safe cage. Dr. Thompson stood, her scientific mind cutting through the humor to the heart of the matter. We've analyzed your protected worlds, High Counselor. They're museums. Beautiful, peaceful museums filled with living exhibits who forgot how to be truly alive. You don't understand, Vexthara said, his musical voice becoming harsh. The galaxy is dangerous. Without guidance, your species will destroy itself within centuries. Maybe, President Carter replied. Or maybe we'll surprise you. Humans have a habit of doing that. We've survived ice ages, plagues, world wars, and our own stupidity, Lisa added. We've split the atom, walked on the moon, and reached for the stars, all without your help. And if you fail? Vexthara demanded. If your chaos leads to extinction? Then we fail as free beings, Captain Sullivan said simply. Better to die on your feet than live on your knees. The Zalathi delegation exchanged rapid communications in their musical language. When Vexthara, spoke again. His voice carried an unmistakable threat. You do not understand the forces at work in this galaxy. The Kreth swarms will devour your worlds. The Void Hunters will enslave your populations. Cosmic storms will sterilize your planets. Without our protection, you face certain doom. Bring it on, came a new voice from the back of the assembly. Colonel Danny White, representing the Global Military Command, stepped forward. We've been preparing for threats since we learned to make fire. We'll handle whatever comes. You cannot be serious, Bexathera said, genuine confusion replacing his earlier authority. Dead serious, President Carter replied. In fact, we have a counteroffer for you. The alien leader's expression shifted to something like alarm. A counteroffer? Join us, Lisa said. Not as protectors and protected, but as equals. Alliance, not submission. We'll face the galaxy's dangers together, but we'll face them as free beings. Impossible, Vexthara said immediately. The order we have built cannot what? Dr. Thompson interrupted. Cannot survive contact with species that choose growth over safety? Cannot handle the chaos of real innovation? Cannot compete with civilizations that refuse to be pets? The truth hung in the air between them. The Zalathi Empire, for all its power and technology, had grown weak through millennia of controlling rather than competing. They had forgotten how to handle genuine opposition. This is your final chance, Vexthera said, his voice carrying the weight of ultimatum. Accept our protection, or be classified as a chaotic influence requiring containment. The laughter had died away, replaced by something harder and more determined. Every human in the room understood what the alien was really saying. Submit or be destroyed. Ambassador Grant looked around the assembly, seeing the same resolve in every face. Humanity had made its choice long before this moment. Perhaps from the first day they had learned to fight back against a hostile world. High Counselor, she said, her voice carrying across the chamber and out to the stars beyond. Humanity respectfully declines your protection. We choose freedom over safety, growth over stagnation, and the right to determine our own destiny. We choose chaos, Captain Sullivan added with a grin. We choose life, President Carter concluded. The Zalathi delegation turned and left without another word, their crystalline forms shimmering with what might have been anger or fear. As they departed, Lisa Grant spoke once more, her words transmitted across human space and beyond. To any species listening, Earth stands with the free worlds. The age of enforced peace is ending. The age of chosen struggle has begun. 6 months after humanity's rejection of Zalathi protection, the first real test came from the dark spaces between stars. Fleet Admiral Carol Jensen stood on the bridge of the battleship New Horizon, watching her tactical displays with calm focus. The Kreth swarms were coming, exactly as the Zalathi had promised. Contact in 30 minutes, reported Lieutenant Sam Parker from the sensor station. 300 vessels moving in the classic swarm pattern. Any word from our allies? Admiral, Jensen asked. The Morvek Confederation is sending 2 battle groups, came the reply from communications. The Thegan Republic has 4 cruiser squadrons en route, and the Kreth, well, they're already here. Through the viewport, Jensen could see the mixed fleet that humanity had assembled. Human ships flew alongside alien vessels in formations that would have been impossible under Zalathi rule. Each species brought their own tactics, their own technology, their own way of fighting. This is going to be interesting, muttered Captain Bob Thompson, the ship's tactical officer. The Kreth swarms had terrorized Zalathi space for centuries. They were insectoid creatures that moved in vast numbers, overwhelming enemies through sheer mass and coordination. Every protected world feared them, and for good reason. They had never been defeated in open battle, but they had never fought humans before. Enemy swarms entering weapons range, Lieutenant Parker announced. Admiral Jensen opened the fleet-wide channel. All ships, this is Admiral Jensen. Remember what we learned in the simulations. These bugs fight in patterns. Break the patterns. Break the swarm. Show them what chaos really looks like. The first wave of Kreth ships came in like a living wall of metal and rage. Their vessels moved in perfect coordination, each one knowing exactly where every other ship would be. It was beautiful and terrifying to watch. Then the human fleet opened fire. Instead of meeting the swarm head-on, the human ships scattered in all directions. Some dove under the enemy formation, others climbed above it, and still others performed wild, spiraling maneuvers that no sane pilot would attempt. The Kreth swarm, programmed for centuries of predictable enemies, found itself attacking empty space. Direct hit on the lead group, called out Weapons Officer Kate Davis from her station. Their formation is breaking apart. Engineer Pete Morgan was already at work in the fighter bay, modifying weapons in real time based on what they were learning about Kreth armor. "Try this," he called over the radio to the pilots. "Frequency 7.2 on the pulse cannons, they're shields." "Don't like it." Lieutenant Commander Sarah Johnson led a boarding party onto a captured Kreth vessel, turning its own weapons against the swarm. Within minutes, confusion spread through the enemy ranks as their own ships began firing on them. "This is impossible," came a transmission from the Kreth swarm leader. "Your tactics make no sense. You fight without order, without purpose." "That's the point," Admiral Jensen replied calmly. "We're unpredictable. Deal with it." The battle raged for 3 hours. The Kreth, despite their numbers, found themselves unable to adapt to the chaotic human tactics. Every time they tried to reform their patterns, the human ships would do something completely unexpected. Allied vessels from other species joined the dance, adding their own unpredictable elements to the mix. When the dust settled, the mighty Kreth swarms were retreating for the first time in their history. The humans had not just survived their first major galactic threat, they had turned it into a victory. The news spread across the galaxy faster than light itself. On 3 different Zalathi-protected worlds, populations began asking uncomfortable questions about why they needed protection if humans could defeat threats so easily. Dr. Amy Thompson, now serving as Earth's chief science advisor, barely looked up from her work when the victory reports came in. She was too busy revolutionizing physics. Freed from Zalathi guidance, human scientists were making discoveries that broke every rule the aliens thought they knew. "Look at this," she said to her research team, pointing to equations that covered an entire wall. "If we bend space-time at this angle while simultaneously creating a quantum field resonance." The result was a new form of faster-than-light travel that made Zalathi technology look ancient. Where alien ships moved in predictable patterns, human vessels could now appear anywhere without warning. Dr. Ryan Clark worked alongside alien anthropologists from the free worlds, studying the effects of liberation on protected species. The results were amazing. Within months of breaking free from Zalathi control, former protected worlds began showing signs of renewed creativity and growth. "It's like watching someone wake up from a long sleep," he explained to President Carter during one of their regular briefings. The potential was always there. They just needed permission to use it again. Meanwhile, on the far side of human space, something unprecedented was happening. High Counselor Vexathera's ship approached Earth orbit, but this time he came alone and without the usual Zalathi arrogance. Ambassador Lisa Grant met him aboard the same diplomatic vessel where their first meeting had taken place. The alien leader looked different somehow, less perfect, less certain. "You have surprised us," Vexathera admitted without preamble. "The Kreth defeat was unexpected." "Was it?" Lisa asked. "Or did you just forget what free species are capable of?" Vexathera was quiet for a long moment, his crystalline features reflecting the starlight from the viewport. "We have maintained order in the galaxy for 3,000 years. Peace, stability, progress under guidance. Your chaos threatens everything we have built." "Our chaos," Lisa said gently, "is called life. Real, messy, unpredictable life. 3 of our protected worlds have requested to leave the Alliance," Vexathera continued. "They speak of rediscovering their potential and choosing their own path. This cannot be allowed." "Why not?" The question seemed to break something inside the alien leader. Because if they leave, if they succeed on their own, then everything we have done for millennia becomes meaningless. We saved them, we protected them, we gave them peace. "You gave them cages," Lisa replied. "Beautiful, comfortable cages, but still cages. The conversation was interrupted by an urgent transmission from Earth. Ambassador Grant, we have a situation. Long-range sensors are detecting a massive Zalathi fleet approaching from the galactic core. Hundreds of ships. Vexithara's expression hardened again. The High Council has decided that the chaos must be contained. Your influence on other species threatens galactic stability. Lisa stood, her diplomatic training warring with her human instincts. So you're going to force peace? On us? We will restore order, Vexithara said, by any means necessary. Within hours, Admiral Jake Sullivan found himself commanding the largest fleet humanity had ever assembled. Ships from Earth, Mars, the asteroid colonies, and a dozen allied species formed a defensive line around the solar system. This is it, he announced to his fleet commanders. Everything we've worked for comes down to this moment. They want to turn us into pets. Are we going to let them? The response was immediate and fierce. No, sir. President Carter's voice came, over every communication channel, broadcast not just to human space but across the entire galaxy. This is President Helen Carter of Earth. Today the Zalathi Empire comes to force their protection on us. We did not ask for it. We do not want it. And we will not accept it. Her words reached every protected world, every free species, every corner of galactic civilization. We choose the chaos of growth over the peace of stagnation. We choose the risk of failure over the guarantee of mediocrity. This is what it means to be human, and this is what it means to be free. The Zalathi fleet arrived like a crystal storm, their ships gleaming with ancient power and terrible beauty. They had technology that could crack planets and weapons that could boil away atmospheres. They had never lost a war, but they had never fought humans before. The battle was not just between ships and weapons, it was between philosophies, between the safety of control and the danger of freedom. The Zalathi fought with perfect coordination and overwhelming power. The human alliance fought with creativity, unpredictability, and the desperate fury of beings who refused to surrender their independence. When it was over, the mighty Zalathi Empire was broken, not destroyed, but changed forever. Some of their ships surrendered, their crews asking to join the alliance of free worlds. Others fled back to their core territories, carrying news that would shake their civilization to its foundations. The final moment came when Vexithara's command ship, damaged, but not destroyed, drifted dead in space. Admiral Sullivan could have finished it, but instead he sent a rescue ship. Why? Vexithara asked when he was brought aboard the human flagship. Because that's what free beings do, Sullivan replied. We choose what's right, not what's easy. Years later, as an old man watching human pilots train alongside former Zalathi allies, Admiral Sullivan would remember the moment when the galaxy learned that freedom was contagious. Species that had been protected for millennia began demanding their independence. The age of enforced peace was ending. The age of chosen struggle had begun. They offered us protection, Sullivan said to the young pilots. Good thing we were too stupid to take it.